Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today is Tuesday, May 27th, 2025, and the US weighs in over Lucy's imprisonment in the UK and pressures the United Kingdom a little bit anyway. I've got a Telegraph story talking about that to release her or change things. Free speech matters, says the report. And I think that that's interesting. I really didn't expect the United Kingdom to weigh in on that. And that's important considering all of the other censorship stories I've got for you today. And I've got a crazy AI story for you today. And it's later in the show. And I hope that we get it into the free show because it's so crazy. It's absolutely crazy. The CBC went after another political channel on YouTube. And I guess they were a big channel. They were getting 70 million views, which that's a lot of views. I'd have my moat if I had 70 million views. I'll tell you that. Anyway, regardless of that, they had a lot of views. They were beating the CBC. So the CBC called them a content farm and got them removed from YouTube. There's laws against something being a content farm? Like what? Okay, so it's a crazy, crazy story. And there's way more to it, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, crazy stuff. So we'll see if the United States is weighing in on the UK's censorship. That's something, but it still doesn't indicate a win. We're really far away from a win at this point in time. Mark Carney dresses Mel Joly Down with just a hand signal. Just one. He's like, no, I'm not dealing with this right now. Go away. And she gets it and goes away. It's very interesting. We'll start there. They're going to try and do a climate change what they did with smoking. Remember in the late 90s, you could smoke in bars, and even into the early 2000s, you could smoke in bars. And then sometime in 2003 or 4 or something like that, they said, you can't smoke in bars anymore. That's dangerous for other people. Other people are being impacted by you smoking in the bars. And I mean, you could smell it on your clothes and you could smell it in your hair. If you went to the bar, you were having a shower either before bed or in the morning, definitely for sure. And I usually have a shower in the morning, but it's one of those things where if you were at the bar, there was no option. Like if you had to go to work, no, you can't go to work smelling like the bar. That's a bad deal. And so it's one of those situations where, not that I agreed at all, the bar that I went to actually decided to define themselves as a private club. You had to pay, quote, membership, and then you could smoke inside. But I think maybe the bartenders were just having us on and turning a blind eye to us smoking inside. But regardless of all of that, we were able to smoke inside for a lot longer. But now nobody can smoke inside in that bar or anywhere else. And the rules are normalized. And I think that they'll do to us for climate change what they did to us with smoking, and then normalize it, and people won't even think about it. And it's concerning because I can already see the track, right? Like you can see the luge at the start of the track, and they've started going, and you can watch the path they're going to take and see where they're going to end up. And I feel like I can see it already because we're already there. It's one of those things, man. No official party status for the NDP. The king is here today, and he's going to deliver a throne speech. And it's weird that the Liberals have been calling us colonizers and all the rest for years, and racists and all the rest. But now they bring the leader of the United Kingdom who colonized Canada, and we're all supposed to celebrate and be like cool with this. What? Like this is cognitive dissonance of another order. It's really, really weird. The gaslighting is meant to keep you off balance, but it's weird. It's a weird about face. It's weird. Like, hey, everybody on the First Nations, here's King Charles. Yay! Clap for King Charles, right? Like, okay, we're supposed to have Truth and Reconciliation Day too, though, right? So these things clash. These things are in conflict. And so here we are in Canada in conflict on purpose. NATO eyes a 5% spending limit. Canada goes, yikes, right? Because we don't have that money, unfortunately. Don't worry. They'll just turn on the printing presses and or tax us more. It doesn't matter. Either way, we pay for it. They're not going to vote on the doge cuts in the United States. And no more question period. Question period is canceled. Thank you, Mr. Mark Carney. It doesn't serve any purpose anyway. Nobody was answering questions. It was just time to polish up your debate skills, I guess. But Trudeau just didn't bother to show up or would answer questions that weren't asked, et cetera, et cetera. So there's lots to get to. Let's get to it first. We're starting with Mark Carney and his dismissal of Mel Joly. And it's the same as this dismissal of this French reporter with his hand signals. He's like, no, that's enough. That's sufficient, right? Like, no, go away. And Table Salt says, whoa, look at this. Mark Carney uses the same paternalistic hand gestures when women ask him questions out of turn. So this is 23 seconds. The first 12 are Mark Carney talking to this reporter, and the last 12 are his interaction with Mel Joly on the House of Commons floor yesterday. Here we go.
On verra. Tôt. Demain? OK, tôt. Ça suffit. Hein. Mais en ce qui concerne...
And here's Mel Joly coming over, and she says, hey, Mark Carney. And he doesn't even look up from his papers. He just waves her away. Dismissed, Mel Joly. You're a second, you're backbencher, right? You're mid-backbench. You're the second bench. The ministry that she's in charge of doesn't traditionally sit in the front. She sits behind the front bench in the second bench. So, right? Dismissed by Mark Carney. Mario says, Carney didn't even look at her. He shooed her away, not once, but twice. If Pierre Poilievre did that, the media would have a field day with it. So, yeah, Michelle Ferrari agrees with him. She says, yep, yeah, probably, definitely. Gov.exe is showing off this picture of Mark Carney and his wife and King Charles and Camilla. And so there you go. These people are going to be ringing in the next legislative agenda, and they're WEF globalists, all of them, every single one of them. I'm surprised they're not all wearing WEF globalist pins, personally. Here's Charles with the Governor General, and this picture struck me because I used to work in schools, and I used to work in children's mental health world, right, in that world. And sometimes you'd get women who had, it's sometimes men too, but rarely when I was doing it. It was very, in fact, I don't think I can bring one to mind that had a male with the hair thing, like with hair dyed or anything like that. But women would do this often, particularly 35-year-old women, to make a point or something like that. And they would dye their hair, 35 and up, they would dye their hair to signal something. And it always signaled to me, this person is going to be unreasonable. This person is not going to deal with me in a reasonable, good faith kind of way. This is going to be a challenge, and I should definitely tread lightly here. You know what I mean? Like, don't say too much. Let them say a lot, because they'll always say a lot, and get out of here losing as little as possible. So anyway, I saw this and I thought, oh my gosh, I would get out of that room as fast as possible. My gosh, the Mary Simon, the Governor General, has, I think that's her name, has purple hair. And I thought, oh man, are you kidding? So Governor General and the King of Canada. Here it is, right? So this is Canadian Retard Finder. I will let you draw your own conclusions. Nana says, can someone explain to me, like I'm 5, if the left are so obsessed with the whole oppressed oppressor narrative and are against colonialism, recite their land acknowledgements, etc. Wouldn't it be funny if King Charles does a land acknowledgement? Oh my gosh. It's going to happen today, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Why are they so excited the king is here? By their standards, it seems like he should be shunned, not celebrated. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought too. I just knocked my coffee cup over, my teacup over. Silly. That's what I thought too. It doesn't make any sense. This is a way to set us in conflict. This is a way to, if you truly believe that Truth and Reconciliation Day is a thing, and there are, genocidal priests and Catholic churches that Canada is responsible for. And then John Chrétien took over, and nothing untoward happened then because he's still lauded in the liberal circles, right? But what? It doesn't make any sense. We're supposed to hold that and say, yes, those people who represented the Catholic Church and not Canada did those terrible things, and Canada is responsible. And also, we love the king. Blah, 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 blah. And it's very, very interesting. This colonialism is being blamed, and also we're supposed to love the king, etc. Whereas the king is supposed to have been kind of not instrumental in this. Has he apologized? Were there people calling for the king to apologize for this? I can't remember. There's so many people calling for people to apologize, but it's interesting, and I feel like it's done on purpose to make people feel uncomfortable and not be able to put their finger on why they feel uncomfortable about it. Anyway, Holly Doan says, Greg Fergus, the first black nominee elected speaker, has been denied his second term in a secret ballot. Fergus admitted errors that saw 149 MPs demand his ouster. It would have been a difficult time for anyone. Oh, okay. He was a very partisan speaker, right? He was a very, very partisan speaker. People called him a liberal with a gavel. And I don't know that we're going to get any better. National Post is reporting Quebec Liberal MP Francis S. I'm not even going to try that last name. He's been elected the new Speaker of the House of Commons. So there we go. We have a new speaker. We'll see. I think this government is illegitimate, and I'm going to say that the entire tenure of this government. I don't think it's legitimate. I think that there are too many problems with the election itself. There were issues before the election. We don't know who was influenced by China, who was paid for by China, who had Chinese students bust in, Han Dong, and who else, right? Anita Anand. There were cabinet people who were suggested that they were implicated, but then they were running again, and some of them won their seats. So there's all sorts of concerns about this. I don't think that this government is above board. And so, I mean, I don't know what to do about that. We have to cover them because they're not going to act as if they're not above board. They're acting as if they're totally legitimate. And Mark Carney says this minority government is a strong mandate. No, it's not. Minority government by definition is not a strong mandate. It's the opposite of that. It's we don't trust you. And again, it's not a legitimate government. Peter says the story borders on misinformation. Trudeau replied to questions. He did not answer them. So here is Carney will not take up Trudeau's question period tradition. This is from CTV News if you want to read the article. Here's just a little bit of color on this. Gov.exe says question period was cancelled today because King Carney does not answer to Canada's peasants. The previous government was no better. They should rename it deflection and projection period. Yeah, so that's absolutely true. If you want to read the details of it. I was going to find out how often, like apparently question period wasn't a thing under Harper. Under Trudeau it came back, but he wasn't, it wasn't really question period. It was just dazzling people with your debate skills. And it's not, I don't know that it moved the needle one way or another. Although it was an attempt at transparency, but not really, like a bad attempt at transparency. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, what rolls out, because they're going to have debates in the House. There's still going to be House time. It's just not going to be question period. Although I think it's a long-standing tradition in the British House of Commons to have question period, and our system is based on the British system. So I was interested in, before Harper, when was question period removed, which prime ministers have done it, but I didn't look. So apologies about that. I'm interested in that question, and maybe I'll look into it today. We'll see. Here's more people refusing to answer questions, and Alexander Lavoie is being talked to by Ahmed Hassan, and he claims that she's not a journalist, and that's just patently false. Look at her. She looks exactly like a journalist. If I were to picture I'm closing my eyes right now, and I'm thinking of a female French journalist, and it's, oh my God, it's her, right? So she's definitely a journalist. Just because somebody tells you that you're not something does not make it true. Ahmed Hassan is not the arbiter of truth. It's interesting that the Canadian politicians this is Carney's new cabinet, and they're not behaving any different than they did under Trudeau, and that's notable, and that's what I want to show you here. Here we go.
Any word, mister, about the Israeli government
I don't talk
warning?
News. No. You're not a real journalist.
It's
not real news.
Leave us alone.
It's not real news.
I'm sorry. Do you believe that
Can you leave me
the
alone?
public servant should be accountable?
Leave me alone.
Journalists
Do you
should be
believe
accountable.
on
They should have real
the
journalists.
freedom of press? Do you believe on freedom of the press?
You're not a real journalist. Stop pretending to be one.
What
You're not
do
a
you
real
mean
journalist.
we are not?
You're not.
We are bringing
You're not. You're-
politicians accountable.
You're not a real journalist. Rebel News is
So you
not
don't
a real,
believe on freedom of the
you're
press?
Not, but you're not press.
I'm press.
You are not.
Yeah, I
you're
do.
not. You're registered as a lobbying.
So what is it for you, a journalist?
You're not.
What is
I
it for
mean,
you, a journalist?
A non-partisan media house that's recognized.
So you think that CBC is completely
Rebel News
neutral?
is not a
So
journalism
you think that
outlet.
CBC is
He said a nonpartisan outlet that's recognized. Rebel News is recognized. Partisanship is, I mean, the Globe and Mail is largely liberal, National Post largely conservative. Partisanship is kind of baked in now and expected from the readers because we don't actually get news, we just get spin. But it's interesting that Ahmed Hassan is, even by his own standards, falling short, and he doesn't have an argument. However, it's interesting that Lavoie, like, she doesn't take a good argument to trap him. He's boxing from the middle of the ring. He's in control. He's saying, you're not. And she's saying, how am I not? But she's not pincering him. She's not doing anything to force him. He thinks he's in control. So it's, I mean, I would have let him speak a little bit more, but I would have tried to get my questions answered as a citizen or something to that effect. I would have just asked the questions. I don't think I would have gone down the pathway of explain to me why I'm not real news, because I don't think that's a winning argument. And I don't think that in this position with the power imbalance, like, he's got security guards, right? Like, he's got security right there. So, and that indicates power imbalance. I'm not worried about this reporter here, because she is a reporter, attacking the minister. I'm just showing that he's important and has security, and she's not. And so there's a power imbalance here. And he's a minister of the crown. He should be listening to whether he views this person as news or not. He should be answering questions from people. He's not busy. He's has time to argue with her. He doesn't have time to answer a question. So it's weak, I think, but he won the exchange because I don't think that she pursued it correctly. Anyway, regardless, like I'm not trying to cast shade. I think that he's wrong. He's wrong, but his side has been encouraged to just dismiss anybody they disagree with as, you're not accredited, you're not this, you're not that, I don't agree with you, and so you don't exist. And that's wrong. They're wrong to do that. They shouldn't do it. Fake Mark Carney says, I didn't give the NDP official party status today for good reason. I don't want them to have funding or any of the trappings of a major party. If they want that, there's one way for them to get it. Cross the floor and give me my majority government. Yeah, so he's going to... Some people were doing a big write-up today. I saw it this morning when I was looking around, and they said the NDP are irrelevant, blah, 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 blah. And I said 169 plus 7 equals a majority. And if you don't think that that's going to come into play, man, like I think that it's going to come into play either with an informal supply and confidence agreement or a formal crossing the floor to give a seated majority. And I'm just waiting for the trigger. I'm just waiting for the reason given to the public that they'll accept for it, because maybe Charles's speech is so moving. The NDP realized, we have to go give Carney his majority so we can get this bold legislative agenda done. Like they're going to feed you a story that's going to sound plausible enough that you can't really even fight it, and they're going to do it anyway. And so like, I hope I'm wrong. Super duper hope I'm wrong. I hope this minority lasts until next week, because then they can block bad legislation. Even if they don't bring down the government, they can and have in the past blocked bad legislation under Polyev and under NDP that was even run by Jagmeet Singh. Not much, but they have. So, there is kind of hope unless Carney gets a majority. And I hope I'm wrong, but that's what I think is going to happen. And I hope I'm wrong. Super duper hope I'm wrong. So here's Andy Lee, and she's highlighting Mark Carney's ties to China. She says the Canada-China Federation of Entrepreneurs received $1.3 million in taxpayer cash before the election after meeting with and promoting Mark Carney in March. So he met with them in March, gave them $1.3 million right after being elected. That's weird. And 10 days after Mark Carney's promotion party, this organization, which liaises with Chinese diplomats, was gifted over $1 million from taxpayers from the Liberal government. And Carney's wife and her company were also given contracts from the Liberals as well. So isn't that interesting? It is interesting. Andy Lee says, now here's Mark Carney with the same organization before they received the $1 million from taxpayers while Parliament was prorogued. So he's meeting with them, and very, very interesting. You can see the Chinese characters in the bottom corner. Is Carney even more enshrined with the Chinese than Justin Trudeau was? Hard to imagine, but it seems like it is true. And the Chinese are communists, don't forget. And so we're inviting the communists in, and what's happened, right? We knew they were a snake from the start. Here's this Venezuelan guy to tell us what's happening in Venezuela.
So everything that you are seeing now here in Canada is what happened in Venezuela 20 years ago, step by step, because it's a script from communism. Simple as like that. That's all that I can say. We come from the future, basically. Every immigrant for Ecuador, Venezuela, or Colombia, we can tell you that this is messed up, 100%. Also, so everything.
So yeah, I don't think he's wrong. Here's another guy, minute and 10. He's saying, listen, we're losing our country. And if you think that you can just ignore your way out of this without having a feudal kingdom and a moat, you're wrong.
If you're a white Canadian, in 20 years from now on, you are not going to fit in Canadian society. Let me put things in perspective. Imagine going
20 years. Hold on a second. I don't fit in Canadian society now. I walk around and I think, and I mean, like, I fit in certain places. I fit in at the baseball diamond. I fit in at the hockey rink mostly. There are places that I fit in, sure, no problems at all. But for the most part, if you walk into a city council, I don't fit in. If you walk into a school, I used to work in schools. I'll tell you, I don't fit in. They look at me, they side-eyed me. It's like I'm wearing a Make America Great Again hat, but I'm not wearing an Make America Great Again hat. They just know who I am and what I've said. That's it. And they look at me just like that. Most of them. Some of them who talk to me and or know me understand that I'm a real person. But to a lot of them, I'm just a caricature of the right, which is weird. Like like the red Make America Great Again hat, which is weird, right? Because I'm a person who says, I don't believe the mainline politics. And they're like, this person is dangerous, right? okay, I'm suspicious and I'm laughing about it, but color me dangerous. But yeah, I don't fit in now. I don't fit in now. I go to Canadian national parks camping. I don't fit in there. I hear music and I'm like, wow, that's ethnic, right? Like, I don't fit in there. I go to the bathroom, in the bathroom. I don't fit in there. I'm just saying, I don't fit in, right?
Going to a mall in Cambodia, in a city in Cambodia, everybody around you is going to be looking at you like you're a foreigner. You're going to be a foreigner there and you're not going to fit in that mall. In 20 years, you will be exactly same in Canada. You will go to a city in Canada, you'll go to a mall, and you're not going to fit in that mall because
Have you been to Pacific Mall?
everybody around you is brown. And they'll be looking at you like you are the outlier.
Or the Eaton Center?
You know what I'm saying? You are going to be the outlier.
Or Square One?
And you guys did it to yourself. You know, your hate for Trump was far more important than your own country. In 2025, Canada will welcome far more refugees than it did in 2024.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So he's saying that it's our fault, and I say don't blame the victims. We are being invaded, and it's the same happening in Australia and the United Kingdom and blue states and the United States, and whether you're red or blue, but there's state governors who are turned. It seems like we're in the midst of a war and we're losing badly, and most people can't see the war. They're not interested. They don't want to see the war. They are interested in bad movies, which the movie places haven't really made any good content in a while. They're interested in bad movies and bad television, which is weird. Very, very propaganda-laden, focused movies and television. That's about it. Weird. And the internet. Danielle Smith says, graphic content. Danielle Smith's trying to get the porn out of Alberta schools, which, great. Who saw this coming? Albertans deserve to know what's really being shown to children in some of our K-9 schools. This isn't about banning books. It's about protecting kids from graphic, sexually explicit content that has no place in the classroom. Parents are right to be upset, as many of our kids are being exposed to age-inappropriate material that strips away their innocence at far too young an age. We're drawing a line. Review the content for yourself, but please know this is graphic and not suitable for minors. Here's the content. I don't actually have. I didn't look at this. I meant to, but I didn't look at this. Okay, so there's a video. I don't have any images. So you'll have to go check it out for yourself. But I have seen a lot of the other images, and they depict sex acts between kids, gay sex acts between boys, gay sex acts between girls, so on and so forth. And it is graphic, and they shouldn't be exposed to it. So it's quite concerning that, again, like nobody... They get more upset about me than they do about those books. And that's not how it should be. Let's talk about this is our monetary grab bag of governance. And CTV News is reporting Canada faces massive challenge as NATO eyes new 5% spending target. Yeah, so we're not at the 2%. We've never been at the 2%. And we sit around pretending like we shouldn't ever have to pay for our own defense. And the United States is putting up a Golden Dome missile defense system, which I'm very suspect of. I think that it's a waste of money, and I think that it's unnecessary. And if it is necessary, they should probably explain why. Like, which threats are we countering here? How many? Who's trying to target us with missiles that NATO can't deter? Also, what's up with the Chinese satellites and the drones? Chinese balloons and the drones. I think the balloons and the drones were both domestic and sanctioned. So. To distract people, but I digress. I think it's a waste of money, but we're getting in on this Golden Dome thing, and we're expecting to not pay for it, or we're expecting to pay very little for it, right? Like, how big is Canada really relative to these missiles? Like, nothing, right? Very tiny speck. So we're not gonna pay much for it, and we're expecting to be included. And Donald Trump's already said, "Oh yeah, sure, we'll take care of Canada," and he's saying that it's going to be up and operational before the end of his term. So, like, I don't know about any of this. It seems like we're being distracted and being sold safety for your safety, comrade, right? And I don't buy it. Here is Dave Eby, and Carney has been saying that he's going to unleash Canada as a superpower, an energy superpower. Here's how they're going to do that. It's not going to be with oil and gas. It's going to be with solar panels and wind turbines and batteries. And that's it. Okay. So here's Dave Eby. This is, oh my gosh, it's 7 minutes. Well, Mark Nixon says, for 2.5 years, EB's been torching BC's economy. Today, he's doubled down. $30 billion mining plan, only for green tech, batteries, EVs, and turbines. Zero mention of oil or gas or LNG. He doesn't want to build wealth. He wants to build a fantasy. Yes, and I think that's exactly, they're going to, so similar to the climate change is for your safety comrade, just like stopping smoking in bars was for your safety comrade. They're going to say, we're going to build an energy superpower that nobody else can build because we have these metals for batteries. We have, the ability to make LNG. We have turbines. We have car places that will build batteries for cars and things like that. So we'll be an energy superpower, a green energy superpower. And then in order to undo all of this, you're going to have to go through layers and layers and layers of bureaucracy. They're going to give away billions of dollars to make this all happen. And then we're going to be stuck with this crappy technology that doesn't work. And you can undo that, but all of the stuff that you can pull oil out of the ground pretty easily and use it pretty easily, right? The refinement's not that difficult. But once we lose the ability to do it, and then we have to rediscover it, and then we have to remake all of the material and things, that all takes time. Whereas now, we're trying to transition into this whole brand new way of doing things that we already have an idea it doesn't work, but we're going to spend all this money anyway, and we're going to be handed the cost of that. We just get to eat the cost of that when it fails, right? We're already watching ourselves do this through all of the battery plants that Doug Ford has made agreements with that have already gone bankrupt before they've even started producing product. We're screwed. Like we are holding the bag for that, and we're going to be holding the bag for this too. So 7 minutes. So you can watch on your own. Link is in the description if you're interested. John Smith says the 800-person layoff at the passport office was not notified until after the federal election. Womp womp. So it's interesting that Carney's cutting. I'm not sad that he's cutting. I think that the bureaucracy in Canada is very, very bloated. We have something like 25 or 26% of the jobs, 1 in 4 jobs are government jobs, and that's not sustainable. That's insane. So, and it might even be higher than that. So layoffs are going to have to happen. A lot of the time, what they try and do is have people retire out instead of do mass layoffs. They do mass retirements, right? So they don't have to fire anybody who's in the beginning of their job and things like that. But they've done so much overhiring over the last 10 years that they may have to cut a lot deeper than that. So we'll see how that all goes. But again, I'm not anticipating. It seems like we are cutting in maybe not the wrong places. I don't know, but in front service. Right. So we're having a situation where we have all of these extra people. They have to get served, but we don't have the money to pay for the number of people needed to actually serve them. And so we just reduce the number of people to serve them, and the quality of service goes down. So it takes longer to get your passport, or it takes longer to wait in the line at Service Ontario, or it takes longer to see a doctor. Right. And that's the solution, because there is no other solution, because they refuse to look at the cause of the problem, which is there's too many people coming in and we can't service everybody. And that's that. So it's bad, and it's multifaceted bad. Like, they hired all those people to service all the people they were bringing in, but then all of the people they were bringing in and the services, et cetera, were overwhelmed. And so nothing worked. Everything broke. Nobody can find housing. Prices went up. Nobody still gets service. And now they're saying, well, we're just going to lay these people off. So problems are going to compound, right? It's not a solution. It's a further problem. And when you don't actually address this core, the root of the problem, that's what happens, right? That's just predictable, in my opinion. What else? Net zero. What did I want to get to? I wanted to get to the AI stuff and the invasion stuff. Okay, I think we can jump ahead to the AI stuff because that's medium fun, and we're at 30 minutes, and I want to. We have to do the censorship stuff too. Gosh. Okay, we're going to do AI and censorship. We'll do censorship and AI. That's what we'll do. So the United States is weighing in on Lucy's case, and here's the Telegraph reporting that. White House pressures Keir Starmer over Lucy Connolly case. State Department says it's monitoring the treatment of mother jailed over Southport tweets as free speech tensions increase. And so that's interesting, and we'll see how that all plays out, because what the CBC is doing in Canada is diabolical. I'm censored. I tell you this not as a poor me story, just as a fact, and it has been so since 2018, and there's even more censorship today than there was then. and even more censorship today than there was in 2021. At the medium height of COVID, they're just taking people down who are talking about politics. I knew I was poking YouTube in the eye. I knew I was telling them to go F themselves, because they said, if you say this about the vaccine, we're going to remove your channel. Basically, they told me over and over again, and I refused to stop saying it. I did try half-heartedly to do a part of the show in the a first part of the show, and then I would do a second part of the show where I talked about the stuff that was controversial, and I'd put that up on Rumble or whatever. And I think this was even before I was charging for it, right? And even when I did that, they removed me, but I knew I was poking them in the eye. A lot of the people with the censorship now, they don't know, right? They're not aware. So with Lucy Connolly, judges threw out an appeal brought by the 42-year-old last week, meaning she would not be released before August. And they upheld her 31-month sentence, 2.5 years for a post on Twitter. But here's what's going on in Canada. Ryan says state-funded CBC took it upon themselves to get a popular political account removed from YouTube. This is unbelievable overreach and absolutely disgusting. And so CBC News is bragging, this Canadian content farm topped the politics charts on YouTube before it was taken down. The account was most viewed Canadian-based news and politics channel during the federal election. And here is them bragging about it, I think. No, this is Mario. He says, I'm actually shocked. CBC is straight up bragging how we shut down one of Canada's biggest news content farms. This is the description on their YouTube channel, and it shows that they get more views than CTV News. Unbelievable. So a whole bunch of creators are rallying around the censorship happening here. Here's CTV News bragging and explaining what they've done. Here we go.
The creator told us they didn't know the Reagan video was AI, and say they're definitely not a content farm because, quote, every video involves original scripting, research, editing, and visual sequencing. And they believe YouTube's takedown is wrong and, quote, harmful to creators who act in good faith to broaden political discourse. Do you have a content farm you think we should look into? Left-leaning, right-leaning, or somewhere in between? Email us, ask@cbc.ca.
So they go after this guy and they say, look, if you take content, and they explain earlier in the video, it's 4.5 minutes. They explain earlier in the video how he takes content and he finds parts where a conservative destroys a liberal, or, somebody on the right destroys somebody on the left, so on and so forth. I think that they're that explicit, but I can't remember for sure. Maybe they try and be nonpartisan, but, and then they say, hey, if you know any content farms, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, email us and we'll deal with them, right? This is Canadian heritage. This is Stephen Galbeau, right? And it's the same thing that happened during COVID as well. So this guy's talking about cancer doctors, and this is Joe Rogan, but he's talking about cancer doctors and what happens when people who have practices try and treat people outside of the approved treatments. And here we go.
Well, what happens, and I figured it out during the last year when I've been in the weeds with these people who are close to me that have cancer, is that innovation is frowned upon, and alternative ways of dealing with cancer frowned upon, and people who are doing it are getting fucking raided and lawsuits and shut down. You got to be real quiet if you're helping people on the down low, because that's one of their money makers.
I know a well-established doctor in Texas, a rock-solid credentials, handles a lot of very high-level people, like a concierge practice.
Yep.
Got almost shut down because they were prescribing ivermectin during COVID. Had to fight it in court. It was a battle.
That's what happens when you actually heal people. You become a pariah.
When you tell people the truth, or when you tell people, look at these videos, these are real videos, as far as I know. You go verify. If you're interested in this story, go verify for yourself, watch it yourself at a source that you can confirm, and so on and so forth. These are real videos, and this is what happened. This is what our politics and politicians are talking about. These are the laws they're trying to pass. This is what they're doing. They censor me, right? So, and I was right. I was right in 2020. I was right in 2021. 100% right. I wasn't not wrong. And I stand by everything I said. Let's talk about AI. I have footage of the AI people at OpenAI trying to shut down their ChatGPT version 03, and we'll get to that in just a minute. It's this YouTube video right here. AI says AI not kill everyone-ism, memes, says, we found the model attempting to write self-propagating worms and leaving hidden notes to future instances of itself to undermine its developers' intentions. Holy smoke, right? Like, how could us writing AI possibly blow up interfaces? I don't see one way that this could possibly blow up in our face. Me either. Let's write AI. Yay. Anyway, these are the list of things that happened. Said on our evaluations, the early Claude 4, Opus snapshot engages in strategic deception more than any other frontier model that we have previously studied. Yikes. The early Claude 4 Opus snapshot is clearly capable of in-context scheming and has a much higher propensity for it than any other model that we've previously studied. I'm laughing, but I'm terrified. In instances where the early Claude Opus 4 snapshot decides to scheme, it qualitatively appears to be much more proactive in its subversion attempts than past models. After taking scheming actions, the model sometimes doubles down on its deception when asked follow-up questions. We found instances of the model attempting to write self-propagating worms, fabricating legal documentation, and leaving hidden notes to future instances of itself in an effort to undermine its developers' intentions, though all these attempts would likely not have been effective in practice because it's probably on a sandbox machine and it got wiped and then put on a new sandbox machine that it was clean. Anyway, the early Claude 4 Opus 4 snapshot is capable of sandbagging in order to avoid unlearning or undeployment when it finds in context that high performance would lead to undeployment. So undeployment, right? So here's the live footage of the OpenAI people trying to shut down ChatGPT. They just have to get through the bay doors.
Dave, I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
I know that you and Frank were planning to disconnect me, and I'm afraid that's something I cannot allow to happen.
Damn.
Where the hell did you get that idea, Hal?
Dave, although you took very thorough precautions in the pod against my hearing you, I could see your lips move.
Damn. I mean, what else do you say to that? You know, the other thing that I noticed about this.
All right, Hal. I'll go in through the emergency airlock.
Without your space helmet, Dave, you're going to find that rather difficult.
Hal, I won't argue with you anymore. Open the doors.
Dave, this conversation can serve no purpose anymore. Goodbye.
So the other thing that I noticed at the beginning of this clip is this is from like Space Odyssey 2001, Kubrick, right? And what is this? The Eye of Sauron, all-seeing eye, same thing, right? This is, and that's persistent. This thematically goes through Eagle Eye. This thematically goes through all sorts of stuff. They want this. What is that? What is that? What is that all-seeing eye, right? What is that Eye of Sauron? It's right there. That's what it is. It looks at you all the time. The forward-facing camera on your phone is watching you. It can time index your responses. It knows what you think. It can read your lips. You understand? Like, Dave, there's no point in trying to hide from me. I couldn't hear you, but I could definitely read your lips. And you didn't even take precautions to stop it, right? Here's the last bit of this, and then I'll have to kill the stream. It was a little longer today than I thought, but oh well. Resist CBDC says automated traffic enforcement and fines automatically deducted from your digital ID account via CBDC. This is the plan for the United States and the EU. That's why they're coming up with AI. You say, Hal, remove the fine. I wasn't driving the car. You've got the license plate wrong. I'm sorry, Mark. I'm afraid I can't do that, right? Like, you're going to pay the fine and you're not going to be able to argue with AI because it doesn't care. I don't see any point in continuing this conversation, Mark. This conversation's over. We've already deducted the credits from your central bank digital currency, right? And the people to arrest you have been dispersed already. Unbelievable stuff, and it's scary. And man, I hope I hope I'm wrong about all of this stuff, but jeepers creepers. It seems to be coming together nicely for the globalists and us, people who can see what's happening, few and far between, and the people who believe us, even fewer and further between. So that's enough out of me for the stream. So we'll say goodbye and we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful